Chapter 4, Part 4, Bepin Choudhary's Lapse of Memory. So, let's get a quick recap of all those 3 parts that we did in the previous videos. So, yes, of course, there are 3 more parts because, as I said, this is the 4th part, and the playlist of these parts will be linked in the description box below, or you can watch it by clicking the eye that is popping up in your upper right corner. So now let's get into the video and into the recap. There are also timestamps since videos are quite long, so you can click any timestamp and check it out in the description box given below. So let's start. So we saw that this man Bepin Choudhary, he met a man called Parimal Ghosh in a bookshop called Kali Charan's in the New Market. Bepin Choudhary used to love crime stories, ghost stories, and also thrillers. And Parimal Ghosh claimed to say that he had met Bepin Choudhary every day for a whole week in Ranchi 1958, and also told him some intimate details about his life. So this man Bepin Babu was very surprised because he remembered very nicely that he had never ever been to Ranchi. He also rolled up his knees to see whether he had really got a inch long cut, which Parimal Ghosh was also talking about. And also he called Mr. Dinesh Mukherjee, and we also looked at all of the question and answers, and you can watch the videos which will be linked in the description boxes, all of them, and also in the eyes that pop up. Okay, so now let's get started with part 4 because I am dying to know what the story is all about. Part 4. Getting off the train at Ranchi next morning, he realized at once that he had never been before. Okay, so this man Bepin Babu had consulted a doctor, as we saw in our earlier parts, and he had very nicely told him that he didn't have any experience, but going to Ranchi again would help him, would help him. So he had gone to Ranchi in the next morning, and he realized that he had never been there before. He came out of the station, took a taxi, and drove around the town for a while. He realized that the streets, the buildings, the hotels, the bazaars, and the Morabadi hill, with none of these had he the slightest acquaintance. Acquaintance means that he had never had even the slightest of he had never even seen those places, or he never had the feeling of knowing them. That is the meaning of this whole sentence. Would a trip to the Honeydew Falls help? He didn't believe so, but at the same time he didn't wish to leave with the feeling that he hadn't tried enough. So what do we mean by this is that Honeydew Falls, so Parimal Ghosh had said that he had been to Honeydew Falls, and he had a fall there and had hurt his right knee. So he decided to visit Honeydew Falls if it helped a little bit. He didn't think it would, but you always have that feeling that I didn't have the patience to try enough, or I did not try enough. So he didn't want to have it and wanted to try his level best to recollect everything, and therefore went to Honeydew Falls. So he arranged for a car and left for Honeydew in the afternoon. At 5 o'clock the same afternoon in Honeydew, Two Gujarati gentlemen from a group of picnickers discovered Bepin Babu lying unconscious beside a boulder. When he came round, the first thing Bepin Babu said was, "I'm finished. There's no hope left." So came around means when he regained consciousness. As we saw earlier, he was lying unconscious. So when he regained consciousness, so when he felt like he could speak, and when he woke up from that unconscious state of mind, okay, "I'm finished, there's no hope left." So what was he referring to? He was referring to this, that there was no hope left for him to live for a longer time, because he thought he had suffered a huge memory loss, and he would go insane like his brother, and he would die soon. So that is what he meant. Next morning, Bepin Babu was back in Calcutta. He realized that there was truly no hope left for him. Soon he would lose everything: his will to work, his confidence, his ability, his balance of mind. Was he going to end up in the asylum at the mental hospital? Bepin Babu couldn't think anymore. He came back home. He rang up Dr. Chanda and asked him to come over. Then, after a shower, he got into bed with an ice bag clamped on his head. So he was feeling like he had a headache. So that's why he decided to have an ice bag on his head, so that he will feel a bit better. Just then, the servant brought him a letter which someone had left in the letter box, a greenish envelope with his name in red ink written on it. Above the name it said, "Urgent and confidential." Confidential here means that very urgent and very secretive or private. In spite of his condition, Bepin Babu had a feeling that he ought to go through the letter. He tore up the envelope and took out the letter. This is what he read. "Dear Bepin, I had no idea that affluence would bring about the kind of change in you that it has done. Was it so difficult for you to help out an old friend down on his luck? I have no money, so my resources are limited. What I have is imagination, a part of which I used in retribution of your unfeeling behavior. Well, you'll be all right again now. A novel I've written is being considered by a publisher. If he likes it enough, it'll see me through the next few months. Yours, Chunilal." Okay, so what happened here was a total twist in the story. So Bepin Babu was the person who Chunilal had written the letter to, which is very clear, I hope. And I had no idea that affluence. So affluence, he is referring to affluence as that, like getting money and getting a job and being very successful in life, that would bring about the change, the kind of change in you that it has done. Was it so difficult for you to help out an old friend? So can you see that he was feeling very hurt and very bad about it, that he had not helped an old friend when he was not in a good situation. He had less money, he had less resources, but what he had was imagination, and imagination is a very important thing. If you consider letting yourself free and writing down all of your thoughts and imagining different and even the weirdest of things, this is a very nice thing to consider. If you want your career to depend on imagination, it's a very great start, because imagination is very important. And if you have enough or a lot of it, or if you have a little bit of it, it can you can excel at anything such as story writing or poems or dramas or plays or anything like that. So as you can see, imagination, as weird or as not obvious as it sounds, it is very very important to be a part of it. It's very important for it to be a part of our life. And why is it so? Is because a very serious person also cannot achieve happiness, and it needs a little bit of imagination to get things in your life or twists in your life. So he said that he had published a novel and he had also written a story. Yours, Chunilal. When Dr. Chanda came, Bepin Babu said, "I'm fine. It all came back as soon as I got off the train at Ranchi." "A unique case," said Dr. Chanda. "I shall certainly write about it in a medical journal." "The reason why I sent for you," said Bepin Babu, "is that I have a pain in the hip from a fall that I had in Ranchi. If you could prescribe a painkiller." Satyajit Ray. Rai. Satyajit Ray. So now, as you can see from this whole story, is that Bepin Babu had not had any memory loss, and he had not forgotten anything about his Ranchi trip because he never went to Ranchi. And all of this was like the whole act was played by Chunilal, and this is a very unique story, such and one that I have never heard before. Now let's get to the comprehension check answers. 1. Had Bepin Babu really lost his memory and forgotten all about a trip to Ranchi? Well, as we saw right now, he had not really lost his memory and had not forgotten about a trip to Ranchi, as he had never been to Ranchi. But by forgetting, he went to Ranchi. Why do you think Chunilal did what he did? Chunilal says he has no money. What is it then that he has? So Chunilal did what he did because he wanted to teach this person Bepin Babu a lesson, and he also said that he had no money, no resources, but an important thing he had was imagination, as I have already told you earlier. Now, working with text. This is what we'll be doing in the next part. Yes, I'm going to make a separate video for that, and it won't be very long. And yes, please let me know your answers down below in the comments about this working with text, so that you can also interact with us. And of course, as usual, if you have any doubts, let us know in the comments down below. And another thing I would like to tell you is, if you like our work, subscribe and ring the notification bell, and please like this video. And of course, I'm not forcing you, it's your own wish. But if you like our work, please do. Thank you so much.